Hello everyone, thank you for joining us for another University Guys webinar. It's very nice to have you all with us and indeed also to have two expert panelists. My name is David Hawkins. I am the director and founder of the University Guys, and it's my great pleasure to bring this wonderful topic to your attention today. So hopefully you can work with your students and explain to them just what a wonderful series of universities you can hear from today, and indeed what a larger sector of universities, which can be a really wonderful opportunity for your students. So what we're talking about is University of Applied Sciences. If you're expecting something else, then pop off and get some lunch and maybe join us next week for another one. So I said, my name is David Hawkins. I run the University Guys. We are a small team of independent educational consultants supporting students and schools with university applications beyond the country of education. I do this with memberships of the Council of International Schools, COBIS, International ACAC and IECA. They may mean nothing to you, but what it does mean is I have to speak the truth and be open and honest, because if I don't, I have not just one, but 4 institutions you could get me kicked out of. My panel today are two experts in this field. I'm really delighted to have them able to offer their expertise and their insight. So I'll ask first Chris and then Monique, if you don't mind introducing yourselves.
I'm assuming that you're asking Vince.
Sorry, yes, Vince. Sorry, I apologise. I did not update the slide, so for everyone, I apologise. This is Vince and not Chris, but you have Chris's details there. Apologies.
Okay, no worries. Chris is actually my direct colleague who couldn't make it today, so I'm very happy to be here. Like David just said, thanks for the correction, Monique. My name is Vince. I work for the Kdg University of Applied Sciences and Arts, located in Belgium, and I'm very happy to be here, hoping to put Belgium on the map for those interested in studying abroad, basically.
Hello, my name is Monique Svendenhuis. I'm a strategic advisor international marketing at Hanze University of Applied Sciences in Groningen, in the northern part of the Netherlands. We've already got our share of UK students, and I'm happy to talk to you a bit more about what we can offer to UK students or to EU students currently in the UK. So yeah, I'm happy to be here and share some information.
Great, fantastic. Well, thank you, Vince. Thank you, Monique. And for those watching the webcam, you'll see my face now matches the lovely branded colour purple that I have, because this is one thing I overlooked to change when we did the little switch with the panelists. So apologies again to Vince. I'm going to talk very briefly for a few minutes, just introducing the kind of topic. The important people to hear from are Vince and Monique, who will give information about their universities and what a University of Applied Sciences or a Hogeschool can offer to your students. And in that big picture, what I want to focus on is this concept, and some of you who will have heard me give this talk in your schools or on other webinars, is really important to focus on the idea that what people in one country may think of as university, as that kind of experience, isn't necessarily the way it happens in different parts of the world. And we have another analogy that I use often, which tries to talk about how we might think of something, and actually depending on who we are speaking to, they might think of something else. And that analogy is football. So in the same way as if we were in parts of Europe and we were imagining football, this would be the sort of thing that we would have in our heads. But if we were in another part of the world and asked students to talk about what is the game of football, they might be thinking about something completely different. So American football, or maybe Gaelic football, maybe Australian rules football. And that's a really important thing, because I really passionately believe that when students are considering universities in another country, they need to learn the rules of that university system, and they need to judge those universities on the merits based on that country. And it can be very dangerous to apply the rules of, say, British universities, what makes a good British university, how you choose a British university, how you apply to a British university, and think that every other country's university system is going to work the same way. In that way, students can make assumptions, they can end up getting very confused, and they can miss the really wonderful opportunities they have to study in other countries and find an institution that might fit them really well. And so in the same way as turning up to play American football thinking it was British football and not having pads and a helmet, if you turn up to apply to international universities without learning the rules of those processes, again, your students might get metaphorically hurt in the process. So just as there are many different ideas of what football is, there are many, many different ideas of what university can be. And I myself have counselled, both in an independent role and when I was working in schools, students who've looked at applied sciences universities and really found a wonderful offering for them that has had a truly transformative experience in their education that they might not have had they stayed within the United Kingdom. So what is a University of Applied Science? What is this sector that we are delving into today, and particularly in the Flemish and the Dutch model that we will be hearing more from today? Well, it is an option which all over Europe is really very popular, that you've got some great countries which have decided, partly a little bit based on their own secondary school education system, to have what we would call a research university sector. So that sort of traditional theory-based sitting lectures, write exams, be taught by professors model of education. But we also have the applied sciences model of education, which is much more focused on doing, on working out how to do things, being engaged with people currently working in industry, having professional experiences as part of those kind of things. And this process has been governed by what we've seen across a number of years is the harmonization of European higher education through a thing called the Bologna process. So the Bologna process is where 48 countries with some different quirks in their university education systems came together with the work of ministries of higher education, with international organizations, to standardize a three-cycle system of education, bachelor's, master's, and doctorates, to strengthen the quality assurance of how all these things are going together, and also to make sure that recognition was easy. So a student graduating from a university in one country can move to another country. As well as those benefits, you can also find that studying in Europe gives you amazing opportunities in terms of cultural diversity. You know, students studying in Antwerp, studying in the north of the Netherlands can very easily, you know, on a train, on a plane, sitting in a car, experience a rapidly different culture very, very quickly. That visa-free travel across the Schengen area gives a great ability to travel, not just for leisure, but also with access to the European labour market. And some of the themes about employability that you will hear from the two wonderful panelists today are giving students these tools which they can then ally to access the European higher education area to take things on into their future career. So fundamentally, when we're looking at this, we are looking at students who are going on a particular kind of educational journey. You know, in the middle here, I've given you a picture of students sitting down doing exams in that very formal, traditional way. And that style of education might suit a certain student. But what we are hoping to talk about today is students who may be better suited to a more discussion, project-based learning, as you can see those people sitting on the beanbags, or maybe in applying a particular competency, a particular skill, like for example here in fine art. And just in the ways in our classrooms across schools around the world, we know we have different styles of learners, people have different skill sets, so that applies at university. So that is a brief overview into the general topic that we're going to talk here and why I'm so passionate about this idea. I'll hand over now to Monique, who's going to talk for a period of time about how that looks when we're talking about Hanze. So Monique, over to you.
Thank you very much, David. So welcome, yes, University of Applied Sciences. So I'll go through a couple of slides with you on Hanze University of Applied Sciences, where we are and what we do. So could you give me the next slide, David? First of all, we are a large university, and we are also the oldest University of Applied Sciences in the Netherlands. A comprehensive university, you know the term, which means we cover all study domains except agriculture. And we are the only University of Applied Sciences actually in the Netherlands that has that includes a fine arts academy and a conservatoire. So we have a broad range of programs, and a lot of those are in the English language. What is very important, as David said, it's more the doing stuff. What we say is we have more hands-on education, and what you find in all our programs, whether they are masters or bachelors, is that our students have obligatory internships, which means that with a minimum of 1 semester and usually even 2 semesters, students are obliged to work in a professional environment, and that can be an organization, a company, even within a university, but it has to be in a professional environment so that they get genuine work experience, which they can put on their CV, but also which prepares them much better for the labor market than only the theoretical aspect of certain domains. In 2019, we were awarded the first rank in the Comprehensive University of Applied Sciences. For us, that means that we do the things well that we think we should be doing well, and that we do give a lot of very good programs, both to international and our national students. Next slide, please. Briefly, a few facts. As we said, we are big. We have almost 30,000 students. Approximately 10% of those are internationals from 115 countries. A few pictures about us. This is our campus. In the Netherlands, we don't have residential campuses. We have only educational and research campuses. And this is an overview from one of the top buildings, which gives you a nice idea of the buildings, but also that we have green campuses with lots of facilities, both in sports, catering, and other facilities. We also include sports studies, which means that we not only have a bachelor program in sports studies, it also means that we have the best facilities in the Netherlands when it comes down to sports facilities. Of course, beach volleyball is very nice in summer, but we also have other facilities on campus and in the city. And one of them is a large swimming pool that our students can make use of in their free time, based on a subscription card for student sports in general, which is €60 a year, and they can make free use, among others, of this swimming pool, but all sports facilities that we have. So they have a really good deal for very little money. We are in Groningen. Don't know if you know Groningen. It's not a big city, slightly over 230,000 inhabitants, but we are a genuine student city with almost a quarter of those, no, more than a quarter of those are students, because we have two big universities in our city. That's one of the reasons that, again, facilities and cultural life, nightlife is really geared towards those students, and we were voted the best student city a couple of years. Because we have those great facilities and students feel that they really fit in here. Besides that, we are the second city of culture in the Netherlands, and we are very old with 1,000 years behind us. So there's lots of history to be found in the city as well. You can just go through this. This is just impressions of what our city looks like. As you can see, it's very historical. But we also have our famous markets where our students buy their cheap food because it's very good price quality. We have lots of culture. We have some of the largest festivals in Europe, both in culture and in pop music. Very, very popular among students. Can you move to the next slide? So this is all impressions. Okay, this is about, we talked about rankings very in a limited way. We are not appearing in rankings as you see them in Times Higher, because we are University of Applied Sciences. So our research volume is comparatively low, although we have a lot of applied research, but we are showing rankings in education, and I think for students that's the most important one. One of them is that we have 9 gold medals, which means that 9 of our programs are the best in the Netherlands. And we have a lot of top-rated programs, which means that they are among the ones with the highest satisfaction for students. And next is that we are #1 in the Netherlands and #5 in the world when it comes down to entrepreneurship, which means that in 1 year, more than 350 students start their own company with help of Hanze University or based on their study at Hanze University of Applied Sciences. So entrepreneurship is really something that's ingrained in our DNA. International programs, 14 bachelors, 13 masters, and 50 exchange programs. Maybe not interesting for you, but for a student who wants to have more than just the Hanze experience, it's very interesting that they can go all over the world for an experience inside their bachelor or master program. A brief overview of the programs. If you can just press the button. Yes, thank you. As you can see, fine arts. So a lot of our programs are really geared towards that hands-on education. So fine arts is really big, also in the English taught programs. As many universities, we have business programs in different fields, in marketing, finance, communication, and game design is among those. And game design is one of our most popular ones at this point in time. We have engineering. And we have, if you press a button, some health related programs, especially physiotherapy and sports studies. And physiotherapy is actually very popular, and that's been awarded the #1 for years in the Netherlands, and is one of the best physiotherapy programs in Europe. I think I can skip this one for now, just to show you that we do have lots of master's programs that students can move towards after their bachelor program. in similar fields. Okay, what can students expect when they come to us? Because what does it mean hands-on education? What does it mean to study at Hanze University? Well, first of all, we try to challenge students to get out of their comfort zone. So as David said, there's a lot of project-based learning. We don't have a lot of classical lectures and transferred knowledge. We teach students how to get that knowledge, but also how to develop their competencies. So for students who are not used to that more innovative way of working, it is sometimes a bit of a shock to find that from day one, they have to start working in groups, meeting deadlines, learning how to get all these organizational and personal skills going. English steep learning curve will not apply to students who are studying in the UK, I'm assuming. But as I said, you will do a lot of group work as a student with us. So students have to be prepared not only to learn, but also to work with other students from many, many different backgrounds. Our lecturers are more in the role of tutors and coaches than they are in standing in front of a classroom and giving general lectures. They're very approachable as well, so our students really love the fact that they can just ask them questions through mail, through Blackboard, and that they are on a first name basis with our lecturers, which means that they feel that they're part of the community. Of course, academic advice is very important. You're all aware of that one. And every student has an academic advisor who helps them through their student journey when they're with us. You know the ECTS system, so I think I can skip this one. We do work with 2 semesters, and we have longer semesters than you're used to in some other countries. We have 2 semesters of 20 weeks, which means 40 weeks in total. So we start at the 1st of September and we move all the way until end of June. Usually a semester is divided into 2 blocks, and every block has usually one theme after which students do either exams or write papers, do presentations. The next, yeah. What we find very important is that the opportunity to build on your career already from day one. As we are University of Applied Sciences, our focus is on preparing for your career and preparing for a certain profession. So what we encourage students to do from the moment they come with us is start working on that. One of them is building their networks. We provide them with all kinds of opportunities within the university, whether that is the honors college, which gives them a chance to work with students from different programs than theirs, whether that is volunteer work, either as a student assistant or in the city or in different projects that we have. We have a lot of interdisciplinary projects, living labs or innovation labs, where students meet other students, meet other researchers, meet companies, and all these can also help them forward in their career if they seize those opportunities to meet other people, but also to connect with other people. We encourage students to not limit themselves within their program, but really cross those borders and look at what the entire university has to offer. For that, for example, we also have a language center. Although none of our students has to do more than the language that they have in their program, we do encourage them to learn another language as well. For your information, students don't need to learn Dutch at this point in time. So whether they want to or are interested, they don't have to learn Dutch as an international student. And again, as I said, internships, so 2 semesters usually, one in the 3rd year and one in their graduation semester, where they get work experience that they could put straight into their CV. And lots of students through their internships actually get a job offer from the company that they've been working, especially if they've done a really good job and have come with nice results. Then companies often see the semester as a nice trial period and offer students jobs when they graduate. So students, as I said, they can work on campus. We have a lot of what we call research centers, but also living labs, and a lot of students engage in work there, whether it's as a volunteer, as a part of their program, or as a professional or semi-professional. So one of the things that they can work at, and that's the next slide, is entrance. An entrance is our Energy Transition Center. It was opened by our king and is one of the good practices in Europe on how you can set up a research center that really moves towards getting fundamental research ready for market. So we focus entirely on how can we make the things that we learn in research available as products that the market or the society can use. By now, this research center has more than 200 partners, and many of our students are engaged in research and other activities within that center. As I said, we have a lot of graduate companies, so students who start their own company. We've built the startup city for that, and that's a place, a physical location as well, where students can get support if they want to start their own company, and that support in writing their business case, in developing their business, in getting coaching on marketing. But they can also get financial aid, and that can go up to 10,000 euro support if they have a really good proposition that we think is worthwhile working on further. And most of these support activities are for free once they get into the program. Very practical. When you want to apply for Hanze University of Applied Sciences and you're an EU student, you can actually apply until the 15th of August every year. The only exception officially is physiotherapy, because that's a selective program and that has a deadline of the 15th of January, because then they go through a selection procedure. And our art and music programs have actually ongoing auditions and selection, so students can actually move even later than that, and will know right after the selection procedure whether they have been admitted or not. The master's is not so interesting right now, I think. So most students, if they apply, they will need their diploma or their predicted diploma and transcript, a letter of motivation for some of the programs. For a bachelor's, they need an IELTS score of 6.0, but any student who has done high school in English or comes from a country where the English is the native language, of course, doesn't need to show any other stuff than that. Some programs may ask for a letter from recommendation from the institute that they come from. We work with a national registration system or application system. So any student who wants to apply at any university in the Netherlands has to go through studylink.nl, where students can register which programs they're interested in which university. And if they choose Hanze, then they will be contacted by us, and then they can go through our application procedure from that moment on. This is all digital, including all the documents. So we don't work with paper documents at this point in time. So it's fairly easy, although of course the systems are bureaucratic and have a lot of demands, but still it's all digital. So students can do this from home. And we do have videos and manuals for students who don't know what to do exactly, so that we can help them through this process. Tuition fees. In the Netherlands, for EU students, the tuition fees are set by the government, which normally means around 2,000 euros a year, and that goes up every year, but only with a few, maybe a dozen euros. For students who start in their first year and haven't studied before in the Netherlands, they get a discount of 50%. So the first year is only half price. And the second, third, and maybe the fourth year will be a normal price. The only exception is physiotherapy, where they have to pay 1,000 more due to the high impact study and lots of equipment that they need in their program. Students can pay in installments, so they don't have to pay it at once. And EU students also have, under certain conditions, can apply for financial aid in the Netherlands. One of the requirements is that they need to be working here in the Netherlands for 56 hours a month, and then they get the same rights as Dutch students for financial aid. As I said, we don't have a residential campus, so students live in the city or near the campus, but we do provide services around housing, and one of them is that we work with a housing office called SSH Housing, where students can apply for housing make a reservation for a room and get through the system like that. But we also have useful links for private organizations that offer rooms. Living expenses, when you look at the accommodation, it says here price starts from 350. I do know that some students will have lower than that, but that is more the exception. But you usually will be talking from 350 until a max of 550 to 600. And living expenses in Groningen is pretty low because we are outside of the most populated area in the Netherlands. So living in the Groningen is generally pretty cheap, and with 750 euros a month, a student can get by. Okay, just a few links. I'm sure you'll get the. Are they getting the presentations, David?
The recording will be available, and if anyone would like
Okay.
to have the slides as a PDF, please drop me an email.
Well, any social media, if you type in Hanze UAS, you will find us, and your students, or you can follow us and get more information about what's going on in our university, especially also since our current students from different nationalities are doing most of the posting on those social media, so students can really see the stories of the students living and studying in Groningen. So it might be interesting for them to go through that and see what happens here in this city. I think that's, for me, the last slide, if I'm not mistaken.
I think so, Monique. If you don't mind, just before we hand over to Vince, just one question, and this will be one I know people may be thinking, given that the Brexit has happened, but the future relationship has not yet been sorted. What would be the non-EU tuition fees? So if a UK student is going to have to pay that higher fee, what would they?
They would be paying 7,900 euros a year. That's the fee that we're right now asking for non-EU students.
Great. So though the situation may change, it's still a fairly good deal for students looking to study there. Great, fantastic. Thanks so much, Monique. Let me click through another slide, and we should be able to get now over. There is some more contact details for Monique. Someone doing something that looks quite terrifying to me.
I did it.
And now, there we go. Now we hand over to KDG. So Vince, over to you.
Okay, so thank you, Monique. That was really very interesting, and there's a lot of similarities as you will see, I think. I'm here to talk about the Kdg University of Applied Sciences and Arts, which is located not in the Netherlands but in Belgium. But that is basically we are neighbouring countries and we share a language, albeit we speak with a funny accent. That being said, if you could go to the next slide, David. So first and foremost, greetings from Antwerp, which is the city where we are based. And basically, through this mini presentation, I will be focusing a bit more.
Okay.
Because unlike the Netherlands, Belgium is rather new at this. We don't have such a long history in offering English taught programs, and a nice fact to know is that our University of Applied Sciences and Arts was the first in Belgium to introduce the English taught programs. So Belgium, why Belgium over any other country? Well, several reasons, if you will, David. So, like I said, we're very often overlooked, whereas we do offer the English programs. Our university at this moment offers 3 undergraduate programs, so the bachelor's programs and 2 masters. The masters would be in arts. There's more in the pipeline, so the choice isn't as broad as, for example, what Monique was talking about. But we are growing and we are really heavily investing in these things and have some nice results as well. If we can go on, David. So, like I said, I'd like to focus on Belgium first, and often overlooked, this tiny country, which is actually a grand place to live. And I know David agrees because he spent some time of his life living there. And we are world famous for the Belgian waffles. We do like our chips. Who doesn't? They originate from Belgium. But we are well, we are known for much more than that. Unfortunately, I can't say too much about our top football team for the time being, due to the COVID situation. But in the bottom right corner, you see the Tomorrowland Festival, which is known all over the world, attracts people from all over the world, and is actually not so very far from where our campus is based. Also, when you look at Europe, just like the Netherlands, it being a neighboring country, we are ideally located to travel throughout. So throughout any of the Schengen countries, for one, like David said in his introduction, but also for those people wishing to commute, going back and forth to the UK, is very easy. To give you an idea, it takes about 2 hours by train to end up in London, and vice versa to get back to Brussels, which is a half-hour's drive from Antwerp. So it's very easy to navigate and travel from where we are. It's also a very important place politically and strategically, so for doing business, but also politics, as it houses the European Parliament. And then generally, life in Belgium is good. We have a high standard of living, meaning that houses tend to be nice, comfortable, big, plenty of things to do around. Funny saying this in today's situation, but still, high standard of living. It's a stable and safe environment, nice infrastructure. Culturally, there's many things to do. And what is important to know is that we boast a highly diverse population, meaning that if you come here as an international student, you will not be looked upon funnily. Or, I mean, people are used to dealing with various people of all sorts of backgrounds, culturally, ethnically, and whatnot. So what Monique said about you don't have to study Dutch in the program is the same for us. You actually don't even need to know Dutch in order to get around. Everybody's happy to talk English, French, Spanish, what will you? So not saying that it's a country of polyglots, but it's a country where people are very, very good at communicating. And on top of that, I already mentioned the chips, but we also have our chocolate. I didn't dare put a picture of the various beers that we have on here, but you all know that is a well-known secret. So why study in Belgium when there's such a large choice? Well, it's one of the countries that you can pick, of course, but we like to say that we offer really high level education at very affordable prices. On top of that, just like the Netherlands, very affordable living costs, and there's a possibility to, and this also attracts many students, or is a frequently asked question, it is possible to work alongside studying. So many of our students do this, most of the time in restaurants or pubs. So again, that's a bit difficult these days, but there is a genuine possibility to combine work and studying. And you'll end up in an economically strong region on top of that. So if we can go to the next slide. Like I already briefly mentioned, we are situated in Flanders. Belgium is, however small it is a divided country when it comes to language. The northern part being the Dutch-speaking part, and the southern part speaks French. We are located in the Dutch-speaking part, but like I said, English will get you just about anywhere. Okay. And then the city that we're located in is, and I don't want to come across as too cocky here, but it's a gem. I'm using that metaphor because it's known as the diamond capital of the world, but on top of that, it's a typical student city. So plenty of things about to do for students, hip places, restaurants, bars, you name it, you will find it. Around 44,000 students living in the city. So there's lots of housing there as well. Our university itself does not offer housing, but we offer help in finding proper housing, as there's many privately owned initiatives around. Also, the architecture is just grand. It's lovely. It's a very bustling city where there's plenty of things to do. And like I said, within easy reach of any other larger city. So take a train, pop on or jump on a bus, and you'll get to see plenty of other things. Just some more images of the city taken in the city, so to show you the diverse population of students and the great architecture. We also house the second largest port in Europe, I think, and the largest one is a bit higher up, and that is in the Netherlands. But this also makes sure that there's plenty of opportunities for our students, as we already focused on universities of applied sciences being very much focused on entering the job market or working along or together with the job market. We work along with plenty of companies that are situated around that port and in the city, but I'll come back on that later as well. So why our particular university, KDG, which by the way stands for Karel de Grote or Charlemagne? What's in the name? You'll end up in a truly international classroom, classmates from all over the world, lecturers from all over the world, alongside what we call the domestic lecturers, so Belgian lecturers, and students, but you'll get a real life education. So compared to the research universities, again, we focus very much on that hands-on, getting the job done, working in projects, and all of the things previously mentioned. You'll end up in a city that is built on actual entrepreneurship. There's many startups to go around, many businesses, thriving businesses, a very innovative area, and there's many tech startups as well. So, and we like to integrate that into our learning and what we have on offer. Further to this, we also offer you the opportunity that if you pick or take a pick for Belgium, so that very small country in the heart of Europe, if you play your cards right, you can end up and find yourself studying in 3 countries during this 3-year undergraduate course. How so? Well, you take your pick for Belgium, so that's your first country, but we also have the internships in each of the programs that we offer, and you do your internship in yet another country. So you already get a taste of that truly international environment by traveling from one place to the next. And then, like I said, if you play your cards right, there's also the study exchange program. So you could find yourself studying in yet another country. So have a taste of different things. It's a springboard to work, so it's very much focused on entering the job market right after studying. So the bachelor's programs are always 3 years, and many students already enter the job market. We have a 100% rate of alumni finding a job 3 months after graduation. So that is something that we're very proud of. Often within their internships, they're offered a job already, but we also see many students pursuing a master's degree after this, as they have grown in their student mindset, as it were. Okay, next slide, please. Also, student services are there to help you, and I think it's particularly necessary to highlight this in the current situation. When you come here as an international student, we are aware of you not being familiar with everything. So student services are there for you. We'd like to say 24/7. It is true, you can send an email 24/7. They won't necessarily get back to you in the middle of the night, but they will get back to you ASAP on anything. We have options for late arrivals, and I'll tell you more about that because I got something hot off the press just an hour ago. We offer in finding houses, the residence permit, the visa support, you name it, we help you with it. So any questions, very open door policy, friendly people there to help. We link you up to other international students if you wish. So there's a buddy system so that you are not left on your own to find out where the hippest places are, etc. There's an International Students Club, many social activities organized by students, and many things to go around. It's nice to see that the international students form their own society within the larger society, but they also easily integrate with the domestic students. Okay, then I wanted to also have this in the presentation because yeah, I think being unclear is unkind, and we need to focus on what we're dealing with at the moment. Like I said, my objective is to put Belgium on the map, but obviously, with the COVID situation, this will have its effects on attracting both international and domestic students. So, if you go to the next slide, David, and then I can go over some points there. That first of all, just like our colleagues in the Netherlands and many other countries, we responded very quickly to the outbreak. We remained active, so we kept on teaching, and all of the teaching moved to online and remote teaching within a week's time, thanks to a great effort of all the professors and the students. The support kept on going. We supported students in whatever they were struggling with. Like I said, 24/7 student services with a pinch of salt, very quick student services. And this is what I got hot off the press. The academic year will begin in September 2020. Unfortunately, I was not able to send a new slide to David because I just heard that we will focus on remote teaching until January 2021. Why am I saying this so directly? Because I think it needs to be communicated rather than having people come here and then all of a sudden realizing that everything will be just a tad different from what they were expecting. I need to be very open about this. So online teaching will be the case until January 2021. We also have we defer acceptances, etc. So there's many of options that we are still doing. The campuses will be open for the more practical things, so for the project work, for the lab work, all of those things. But most of the things for 2021 or until January 2021 will be done remotely. This being said, there is a great flexibility in admissions. We still accept people, seeing what comes through, but our deadline is a bit nearer than Monique's. We extended our deadline until June 1st, but that being said, the flexibility still counts because we still let people in via the channel. So do get in touch if you are still interested. We also have our language requirements, but we accept online language tests called Duolingo because of the closing down of many IELTS and TOEFL offices all over the world. They're also opening up again and have also already provided online alternatives. So we're definitely accepting those. But for people of the UK and English-speaking countries, there's no need to show these tests. And then we need a certificate of graduation in order for you to apply successfully. We do not look into the scores as up to now. So scores are of less importance to us. We just need a diploma that allows you to study or further your studies in your country of origin, and then it is also fine for us. Okay, if you can go to the next. Well, this is just, I wanted to point out the website. Like I said, my aim is to highlight Belgium as a destination more, but I think you find plenty more information on the programs itself on the website. I'll quickly run you through a couple, but this being said, kindly invited to see the URL there and to browse, do some shopping, and get in touch with either David or us. And then the next slide, yeah, says a bit more about the whole system, but I think I've already run you through that. So it's a 3 years courses to undergraduates that allow you to either enter the job market or then pursue a master's. And where you will be doing this master's program, depending on where, you either need to do 1 extra year or can immediately go on to the master's, but that's also very clearly explained on the website. The programs that I'm just going to quickly run you through are the 3 degree programs that we have as up to now, and that's International Business Management, Applied Information Technology, and Multimedia and Communication Technology. So starting with the first, is the International Business Management, and that's basically the most versatile program. You'll end up in an international environment, in an international city with international businesses all around. You'll be linked to them. And basically, what I always tell people when talking about this project, rather than going over the bullets here, is that after graduating, the world will be your oyster, because you'll have had a taste of everything there is to know about doing business internationally, whether it be marketing, sales, HR, logistics, and whatnot. So when you graduate, you can still go into marketing, you can still go into sales, and all of the other things. Whereas if I compare it to some of our Dutch programs that we offer, if you study marketing, you end up in marketing most likely. If you study law, you probably end up in law. Whereas this, you can go in many different ways. Anything to do with international business management and experiencing it firsthand. Another program is on the next is multimedia and communication technology, and this is basically a mix of creativity, technology, and strategy. These guys and girls call themselves the digital nomads because they focus on doing business from anywhere in the world. The only thing they need to be successful is a laptop and an internet connection, and then they can work for any clients, customers they wish from wherever they are. Creativity, because they learn to work with 3D modeling, the software tools for the digital design and whatnot. Technology, because there's a fair deal of programming in there as well, app building, robotics, and then the strategy, so the marketing aspect. How do you get people to use your app? How do you get people to visit your website? And so all of this makes them into a very, very versatile, multimedia communication technology experts once they graduate. And then the last one is the applied information technology, basically the computer sciences, everything you need to become a fully stacked developer. So there's coding in there, but also the future technologies, a high focus on artificial intelligence. And it's a nice setup that this program has, is basically in the first year, the students are considered an employer of a company. In the second year, they take on a managerial function, and they even manage some of the projects that the people work on, also the first year students, so they will have to listen to the second years as managers. And in the third year, they become the CEO of a company. So they get a taste of what it is to be a developer on various levels within a company, or to set up their own company. And for the rest, you can read it here or look on the website what else it entails. So that's very briefly, in a nutshell, those three undergraduate programs. Like I said, real life education. We've got many companies that we work with that also come into the school, but that we also send you out to. They are in Belgium or anywhere in the world. These are just a few on this slide here because they're nice and hip and trendy. But more importantly, the tuition fee. So what does it cost? For the time being, by the way, UK students are still considered as Europeans, and I mean, don't take offense, please. I know there's divided opinions there, but it's a good thing because they still pay the European tuition fee, which is not even €1,000, just slightly under €1,000. What will happen in the future, we don't know, but if UK students will become considered non-EU, the tuition fee will be around €6,000, so 6,172 to be precise. Housing and cost of living a month counted together will stay under €1,000, so very budget-friendly living. And then I already said this, you need your secondary education diploma and then also the proof of English proficiency. We accept many tests, and if you are a native speaker of English and can prove that, then there's no need for that test. So that's all that this slide wanted to say. And that is basically the end of my story. So again, I want to be candid about the situation, as I'm also instructed to do. we are still open for business. We are very welcoming to you. We hope that this thing shall pass over very soon, but the reality is that we will start come September, but actual life on campus will only recommence January 1st, 2021.
Great. Thank you so much, Vince. Thank you so much, Monique. We've got a few more minutes for some questions that we're going to get through. Before we do, I just want to run through a few resources and things that we have online at universityguys.com. All sorts of information, podcasts on Study in Netherlands. You'll hear a familiar voice on the Study in Belgium podcast from a recent episode that was done as well, which you will see the image on your screen now. We are very, very fortunate to be recommended by a lot of schools across the British Isles to help their students explore where in the world they want to apply, to prepare for those applications, to make those applications. If any students would like to book a free half-an-hour consultation with us, the details are all there, universityguys.com, book a one-on-one session with the hyphens in between. I will put again here the details, the incorrect details, I do apologise again, Vince, there, of the panellists. This will be available as a recording for you about 3 hours after it finishes. You'll get a link automatically from the system to do it. But I do want to get on to the questions. First question is one that's come in about entry requirements. You've touched on them both, Monique and Vince, in terms of sort of access from a diploma. In terms of things like A-levels, IB, maybe a BTEC, can you give some concrete terms, like how many A-levels and what grades would a student need in order to access, say, first of all, Hanze?
First of all, we don't work with grades. As Vince also, I think, said, we don't look at grade scores for the simple reason that we believe in open access. So a student who has the certificate or the diploma that gives them access, that is enough for us. Even for selective programs, there will hardly be any focus on how high your grades are. But it will be based on motivation, potential competencies, that sort of, so much more the softer skills, because grades, as far as we know and have researched in the Netherlands, are not a really good prediction of successful studying in higher education. So having said that, people often wonder, what does it mean? Does anybody just get in? Yes, if you have the right diploma. For example, IB gets you in. But what we believe in is actually a kind of selection in the first year, in the sense that a student who's really motivated, works normal, so not particularly hard, but is a good student who does his work properly, they can succeed in the first year. But those students who are not motivated or don't do their job right, they might not get the credits that they need. And we have a very strict system that if you don't get the 48 credits out of 60 in the first year, then you're out of the program. So you get kicked out. Sounds a bit rough, but it means that we sort of do this selection based on much more on the motivation on how students are working in that first year. And so a student might be very well versed in academia and still not manage to finish the first year, and then they are not allowed to stay in the program and they can't reapply until 2 years later. So our selection is basically in the first year, and that's, I think, very important for people to realize that it doesn't have anything to do with higher or lower quality. The Netherlands is well known for its high quality education, higher education, whether that is research universities or universities of applied sciences. So the quality is there, is that we believe that the student should have a chance based on motivation and potential competencies, and not on the basis of grades.
Great, thank you. And just maybe before Vince delve in, just to make that really concrete for people, what you're saying, a student who has completed A-levels and passed them in some form has open access, and that would apply for BTEC diploma when passing the IB. I'm spelling that absolutely clearly for everybody, but just because you might scrape 3 A-levels at grade E doesn't mean you're going to succeed, because as Monique has said. Vince,
I can give just, I can just give one example of one of our physiotherapy students. That is a highly selective procedure to get into the program. So students really need to be motivated to get into it. We have one of our Irish students who was really had a minimum score in the Irish high school, did his QQI and in physical education, got into the program, and is now one of the highest scoring students in the program, simply because his motivation is there and he really loves what he's doing. So again, as I said, it's about motivation.
Right.
So,
and it's very similarly for Kdg in Belgium, the same kind of process would apply.
Exactly. So thank you, Monique, for answering this question, because basically the same thing goes for us, apart from the 48 study credits that you mentioned, but we also do screening in the first year. Basically, it happens quite organically, so anyone can get in. So it's the same story as in Hanze University. At KDG, if you have a document that enables you, allows you to study further in your home country, you can also study at KDG, regardless of the grades, for the very same reasons that Monique's mentioned. But how do we have that thing in the first year that happens organically? Is basically students prove themselves whether they're up for it or not. These studies, like any other university, we have set a bar, and these are the requirements for anyone to pass, and it's up to them to basically prove this. But we also are very open for students that might not have the highest grades, because yeah, we see every year that this can turn out completely differently, just like that physiotherapy students that Monique's mentioned.
Great, thank you. And I think it's one of these points where my football versus football analogy comes in, and it's only the British mindset. The higher the grades, the supposedly higher quality of the university. In a lot of European systems, like the ones we talked about today, that is definitely not the way it is seen. The analogy I've heard you sometimes is the UK, USA, Canada might do selection at the gate as to who is allowed into the gate. A lot of universities in Europe will do selection after the gate. You can maybe get through that gate into maybe that first field, but then you've got to hit another mark to get on to the second field through another gate later on. I also want to just touch on one thing, just for absolute clarity again here. When you both mentioned difference between EU fees and non-EU fees, and obviously in the UK, people might be used to there's a combination of passport plus residency for both, for Hanze, for KDG, and for the wider Dutch and Flemish universities. The fee depends on the student's passport. So a student from an EU country who is studying at a boarding school in the UK, who might have been born and raised in the UK but has a family member who gives them access to an Irish passport, a Polish passport, those students would still get the lower EU fee if they would choose to study in the Netherlands or Flanders, yes?
If they have an EU passport, yes. So whether they are studying in Britain or in Argentina or what have you, if they have EU nationality, which shows in their passport, and if they have a double nationality, the EU one is the one that counts, they will have access to the low tuition fees. Yeah.
Absolutely, it's the same for us. I myself boast 2 passports, and I use them accordingly. So no, exactly. We see this a lot with Latin American students. Often Brazilian students have various nationalities. If they can play the card of the European one, then that's fine. They're European students.
Great, and I'm saying this knowing that some of the attendees here are from state sixth forms in the UK, which might have significant students who might have families with Polish, Lithuanian, Latvian, Bulgarian passports, and equally a lot of boarding schools on here who will have international borders. If those EU students might be paying an international fee in the UK, where you could be touching 20, 30, or maybe for medicine £50,000 a year, that €900 tuition in Belgium or €5,000 for an entire 3-year degree in the Netherlands suddenly looks incredibly attractive above and beyond just the wonderful courses that we've heard. Last question before everyone has to skip off and go and get a bite to eat. It's another question that's come in. A comparison that's been asked between how applied sciences and arts courses we've heard of, which are professional higher education, and maybe how that would compare to the degree apprenticeship model that's become quite popular in the UK. And that will be a model whereby a student might be studying 3 days a week, 4 days a week, working with an employer, and then maybe coming into a university day a week, or maybe doing block, maybe 3 weeks out with an employer, a week in with a university provider. Would that be a similar kind of split we might see at applied sciences? Monique, maybe first of all, you could touch on that.
There is a few programs that do have this structure. We call it dual. So those are dual programs where students have a combination of work and study. But most of our programs actually are full-time programs in the university, and the work experience comes through that semester, what I said in the 3rd year, where they have an internship, whether that is in the Netherlands or elsewhere in the world, and the graduation project in the 4th year, where they again can be somewhere else in the world or in the Netherlands. So students in principle in the semester that they are in university, they are in university. The only thing that will get them out there and work with companies is our innovation labs or projects which might concern business cases that have been provided by companies, and a lot of those projects are based on serious requests from companies. So then students will be working with companies, for example, to solve a problem, or to provide them with a product, or to provide them with a solution, or to give them recommendations on something. But that's more from the point of view that the company is then the ones providing them with the question. So they don't go for a few weeks outside and then for a few weeks inside. That's only a very limited number of programs, and those are actually all Dutch taught. No, basically we don't have that kind of structure. So apprenticeship, as you describe it now, is not with us. We put them into more immersing semesters where students are really part of a team and work in all aspects of a company, and not just for a few weeks, but in becoming part of a process for a couple of months.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much. And Vince, again, I'm assuming, and this may be because as we haven't actually mentioned that Dutch universities and Flemish universities are accredited by the same body, the NVAO. I won't try and murder the little Dutch I've retained to do that, but I'm assuming because of that, it's going to be broadly similar for Kdg as well, Vince.
Absolutely. So it's not integrated in the programs as such. So they do have their focus on the job market, their work experience through the internships. They're working along. They're working on projects sometimes suggested by companies, etc. So there's a lot of project-based work, but it's not that they actually do an apprenticeship. Rather, they do an internship. We do have students who have a status of being a working student, but that's something different altogether. That just means that they're combining work that they have or found themselves, not necessarily study related, and they're studying along the side. But normally any student enrolling for the program is considered a full-time student, and that is what the program is about, the focus on the studies and nothing else apart from their social life, of course.
Well, and as you've both explained, and something that sometimes comes as a shock is to British students who might be used to relatively limited contact hours in the UK, your students are in class quite a lot and they're being worked quite hard. So not only is it potentially a very cost-effective option, that students are going to be getting an awful lot for that money. That concludes the questions. We've run slightly over time. I'm very grateful to Vince and to Monique. This is a session that we planned a while ago. I think even just before the world was sort of shutting down and we were all going to be living on virtual platforms. Two wonderful universities representative of really amazing opportunities for students. Something in my own career, both as a school-based advisor and independently, I'm really passionate about explaining to students that if you may not fit that traditional theory-based, exam-based education, then why not go and look at the University of Applied Sciences sector? I've seen so many students have it, I've said at the start, a really transformative experience. And a big thank you to Vince and to Monique for giving up your time so that the audience today can find out more.
Thank you for hosting us.
Thank you, David, and good to meet both of you again.
Thank you. Take care, everybody. And I think we have to say it right now. Stay well, and good luck with everything you have going for the rest of the day and the rest of the week. Good afternoon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.